Welcome to the Lost and Found podcast. I'm your host, Amanda. Join me each week as I rediscover my life's meaning, my passions, and my place in this world after leaving behind the only dream I've ever known. If you are dealing with self-loss, identity changes, career transitions, or you are still trying to figure out your life's purpose, then you're not alone. Join me. Wanderers are always welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Lost and Found podcast. This is your host, Amanda. So excited to be here for another Wanderer Wisdom Wednesday. This one's coming out a little late tonight, but that just kind of is what it is because I'm crazy and I decided to challenge myself to do multiple episodes a week. It's not gonna lie, this is tough. This is so tough. Oh man, and trying to come up, keep up with all the other responsibilities in my life, taking care of my own health, eating, taking care of my house, my dog, my family, my physical therapy, my job. So much is happening right now with my job, everything down to the wire. But we're here, we're showing up, and that's what matters. That's a promise I made to myself for this month, and that's what we're going to do. Today, we have a couple of listener questions. We got shorter questions today, not a full email. So I'm going to pop through a couple of these and then we will get going. Again, the listener Q&A, I'm so excited about these because it's such a fun way for me to engage with you, the audience members. I can respond to your comments directly. I can respond to your questions directly. And it helps me understand what you're thinking about or topics that you want me to cover that I maybe haven't covered yet or I haven't covered enough. I can go more in depth based on the questions that I'm getting all the time. So this is just a great opportunity for me to connect with you. So please feel free to send and submit a question anytime for the Wednesday episodes, the Wanderer Wisdom Wednesday, what would a wanderer do kind of scenarios. You can send those via email. So hello@podcastforthelost.com, or you can send them in the link in the show notes. There's an anonymous messenger. If there's any reason why you don't want to be known, but you still want to ask a question, you can send a message via the anonymous messenger. You can also send it to me directly on, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Instagram, TikTok, wherever the DMs are. Feel free to send it and share it. I love it. And I will get to everybody as much as I can. So without further ado, question number 1. You always ask your guests about their lost and found moments, but what's one recent lost moment in your life that you're still navigating or healing from? Oh, I don't know that I've had... Well, I guess the most recent lost feeling wasn't exactly a lost feeling. It was the overwhelmed feeling. I think that's mostly what I've been feeling lately about my life. Because of the move, because I'm changing, because I'm going through a really pivotal time in my life. Back in January, I remember telling myself and telling my mom that I just had this feeling around my birthday where it's just kind of like, this is the year that's going to change your life. 2025 is the year that you kind of kick it into high gear. This is the year where you take yourself a little more seriously than before. And that is happening. We're mid-year now, 6 months in, and it's very clear the momentum is picking up. And it's a moment in my life where I'm starting to see the pieces fall together and trying to get a better grasp on what it's going to take to expand myself and expand my personal brand, expand my projects, expand my plans around the show and the goals that I have for my website, my eventually coming up with a digital product or writing a book or getting bigger names to come on the show. There are lots of ways that I can grow and move and improve. And I am only one person. And so that's really the most frustrating and hard thing to navigate right now is how do I grow something from nothing with nothing? I don't have a whole lot of extra money. Yes, I moved to help save money. That was one of the reasons. But I only moved 3 weeks ago. I haven't saved much. It's a weird balance right now where my whole life feels I'm blessed, but I'm overwhelmed. And it's an awkward state to live in where I'm grateful and I'm proud of everything I'm doing. And I'm glad and I don't regret the moves that I've made so far. But there's there's stress piling up, and I'm still trying to figure out how to navigate that, really. I don't think I'm lost right now. I'm sure I will be lost at some point, but I don't feel lost right now. I feel very overwhelmed, but I know that I will find a way to swim through this, or at least I can keep my head above water. I've been through stressful situations before in my life. I'll get through this again the same way I got through those old ones. That's kind of where I'm at, because nothing's going the way that I would like it to go, but I don't think growth happens on the timeline you expect it to happen on. Growth happens in its own way every single time through every phase of your life. And so this is just a phase of my life where I'm going to be overwhelmed while I'm trying to move on to the next level. All right, question number 2. How has your definition of purpose changed since starting the podcast? That's a really good question, because purpose is a core pillar of this show, and it's a core pillar of what I care about and why I have attempted to change my life in lots of ways. I know that's like so shiny, but I don't have good lighting in here, so we're doing the best we can. Sorry, I got distracted. Okay. Purpose, I think I have finally accepted that your purpose can change, right? And through this podcast, I have learned that your purpose doesn't have to be stagnant. And even if your purpose actually is the same, the context in which you exude or exhibit or conduct that purposeful path can change. So your skill sets and what you're good at and what you enjoy and what brings you happiness and what lights you up may not necessarily change, but the context in which you get to show that off or you get to engage in that feeling can. Does that make sense? I was just talking to Jeremy Horn. He's a guest that'll be coming out later in July. We were talking about how I was trying to explain to him how I started to realize that I've always enjoyed acts of service. It's a major love language for me, right? And so it's very, very clear that acts of service was a big deal. And that's why I derive so much purpose out of my original job with the FBI, I think, because it's not a ghost. It's Dirk. I'm just kidding. Sorry, for anybody on YouTube, you just saw my door open real slowly and you can't see Dirk, so it looks like a ghost entered the room. But anyway, where was I? Acts of service. Right. So serving the American people and upholding the Constitution of the United States was a very intriguing idea to me. The mission of the original mission of the FBI, and it's at its core, the purpose that it serves was attractive to me because I didn't join the military. I was interested in that, sure, and I grew up around it all the time because of my father's business and his friends and employees, but I never fully crossed that threshold. I probably should have done ROTC in college, in undergrad. That would have been a really great way to stay on top of things, and it would have been an interesting path to take, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. Anyway, I thought the next best thing was to lean into the criminal justice degree that I had and to work for the Bureau because I admired all of my professors that were former FBI and former intelligence agency related careers. And it was fascinating. And they did get to contribute to, in my opinion, to society in a way that you don't always get to see it. And if they're doing their job right, you won't know that it happened, but that your rights were protected and that law and order was maintained and that you get to continue to live the life and have the civil liberties that you have because of this agency. The only ones that are there actually dedicated day in and day out to protect that for you from anyone and everyone, including your own government. And to me, that was the cream of the crop. Like if you're going to dedicate a life of service to the American people and it's not military, to me, that made the most sense. And so that act of service, the act of engaging in the intelligence projects and programs helped me derive purpose. I was contributing to protecting soldiers abroad, to protecting our intelligence gathering activities, to protecting people inside the United States from criminal actors and threats and various things, and making sure that you get to live a life where you don't notice that. You know that you can live this freedom because there are other people standing on that line, guarding it and protecting you. And I admired that very, very much. And when I had to pivot and leave that path, that was very difficult for me. And so giving up that purpose, the quote unquote purpose, sucked. It was very hard for me to reconcile any of that kind of feeling. And so I had to find a way to give service in other ways. It turns out that one of the best ways for me to show acts of service for others was to start by sharing my own experiences on the podcast. So my purpose pivoted from protecting you from behind the scenes to now engaging with you on the front line by sharing a raw, unfiltered, unedited, really side of myself and showing you that not everybody has it all together all the time. Not everybody has a perfect life all together all the time. Not everybody knows exactly what it is they want or what they're doing or where they're going all the time. You don't have to give up your core purpose, your core self to have a fulfilling life. And I used to think that, right? The initial severance from that previous identity was really rough for me. And I do still think about it, even 3 years out. I do still think about what it would have been like if I had been there still. And most likely because of what I worked on and the people I was with and where I had been stationed and stuff. It turns out now, in hindsight, the 3 years later, watching what's been happening since January 2025, I probably would have gotten fired at this point. So because of decisions that are being made. And it turns out that me leaving 3 years ago wasn't necessarily a bad idea, because apparently if I had stayed, I would have just been avoiding the inevitable. I was avoiding the inevitable, which was me getting fired, because the units that I used to work for are gone now. And so it's very obvious that maybe I dodged a bullet by choosing to pivot my purpose in another direction, to channel my purpose in another way. And so now my acts of service is I share these stories, I connect people, I help people remember that they can and have all the power within them to do whatever it is that they really want to do. But it absolutely starts with changing yourself. If you want to change your life, you have to start with changing yourself first, changing your perspective, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, your social health, your ability to communicate who you are and what you envision for your future life, and what exactly does a good life look like to you. I want to help people figure that out. That's how I would think of purpose now. It's more like it's almost like an inherent gift you were given, and learning how to lean into it helps identify it more and helps it flourish more, but not letting yourself get so frustrated if you're just trying to figure it out, that's okay. Does that make sense? I hope so. I feel like that was a really long answer for that question. If you could go back and give one message to the version of yourself who left national security to pursue this path, what would you say? Oh man, I haven't cried on this podcast in a long time. I would tell her that the anxiety and the sadness and the heaviness that you feel about your job and about your future are not in your head. They are signs from the universe. They are your intuition trying to speak to you. And you've either not listened, or they have become serious enough to where it's now manifesting physically in your body. So the stress that you're feeling, there was a point. I don't know if I've talked about this on the show yet or not, but I think it was spring of 2021. There was like a month-ish period. It would have been right after my mom and dad moved, right after, to take care of my grandmother. And that period, my grandmother she had fallen and injured herself. And my mom was spending all of the first 9 months of living in Kingsport in her house. And so all of these medical things kept happening. And I'm going to butcher the order in which they happened. So Mom, don't get mad. Essentially, I was on the verge of a breakup. So it was really stressful because I could tell something was off and something wasn't right. And a breakup eventually happened. But in like a 1 month span, I had the breakdown of a relationship, a breakup. My grandmother fell, and because she got injured, they were running all these tests on her, and they ended up diagnosing her with lung cancer. Luckily, they caught it early, but she had been diagnosed, so that was bad. My mom had essentially moved in with her to stay there full time. One of the teams I was working on at the FBI, it was a briefing team, and things were not going well on that team. We had creative differences about the amount of effort and stuff that we wanted to put into that project. And I was putting in more. And one day the boss told us, if you need to restructure, like do whatever, because we have a new leader for your daily team, for your weekly tasks. And that leader did decide to restructure. And when they restructured, they cut the sections of the project that were mine. And so I was completely taken aback, and I had no idea that was coming. So I felt so blindsided in the meeting that we were in. And I raised my hand that day. It was like in that 1 week, the day before I'd found out my grandmother has cancer, I get told in a meeting that I'm no longer invited to work on this team, or that my contributions are no longer necessary. And I raised my hand. I was like, okay, then am I being let go? Because the boss did not tell me that. If we're cutting this, does this mean I'm no longer on the team? Can I leave then, I guess, because I have stuff to do? And that was one of the first times I was ever so passive aggressive at work. Because I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And then the person felt really bad, because when everybody else in the room realized that that's what that meant, that I was going to be cut from the team, they all turned and were like, no, please don't. Like, we'll keep it. We'll find something else. We'll do not leave. Do not quit. You are a crucial part of the team. And at that point, I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. Like, I'm good. I don't need to be here if I'm not welcome. It's really okay. So that was awkward and terrible. And the person wanted to be like, I'm really sorry. You seemed upset. And it was one of those where it's just kind of like, yes, I'm upset, but I'm not in a place, because my personal life outside of the office was stressful. I'm sure I was putting out bad vibes that day at work. And so because there was a professional setting, I was trying to not have a breakdown. I was kind of like, I don't want to talk about this today. It's fine. We had a miscommunication in the meeting. Don't worry about it. But they kept pushing it. And it was kind of like, I don't want to tell you why I feel bad today. Like, it's just, we're not close. We're not good friends. It was just a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I'll be okay. Like, I really wanted to let it go, but they didn't want to let it go. So that made my whole mood way worse. But that was a time period where all those, like, work was just weird. I got broken up with by somebody that I thought, not that they were necessarily the one, but we had been on again and off again for a while. And I thought this time it was going to stick, and it didn't. It did not. So that was pretty shitty. But I do remember being in the shower and like losing so much hair all the time, and like losing so much weight. And I kept blaming all of that on, you're just stressed because your job is intense. You're just stressed because you're getting bullied at work. You're just stressed because you got broken up with. And yes, like that, those are all just in silos. Those things were all happening. But like when it would be thing after thing after thing, something had to give. And there's definitely a difference between you're having a bad day, you're having a bad month, versus this means it's over. This means something's wrong. Something's not connecting. You are not aligned. You are not being the person you were meant to be. And when you're not the person you're meant to be, you erode who you are. And every single time you choose to do something like that, or you keep taking a step down a path that's wrong for you, you chip away at who you really are. And a piece of you dies, a piece of you's gone, a piece after piece. And I think that I would tell her, if I'm going back to that version of myself in that moment, I would tell her she needs to listen to what's happening, not just experience what's happening, listen to what's happening, because this is it. These are the signs that something's wrong with your alignment, something's wrong with your path, something's wrong with your purpose. Like you shouldn't be banging your head against the brick wall every single day. You're going to have bad days, but you're not going to be doing this every single day. Something's wrong. So I would tell her to believe in herself and listen to herself and listen to what the signs are saying, because she's not wrong to know that something's off. She's not wrong to know that this is heavy. She's not wrong to feel how she feels. I think younger me was trying to brush it off and just assume like, well, this is the career. This is part of it. This is part of your career. This is what happens to us. The people that decide to do this, the people that go into national security. This is it. You chose this. Now you have to put up with it. Nah, bro. You chose it, but you can also choose to leave it. That's essentially what I would say to her, and give her a giant hug and buy her a bunch of Nutrafol and be like, bitch, eat some protein. Come on. Anyway, question number 4. Do you ever feel pressure to have it all figured out because you're the host of a self-discovery podcast? How do you handle that? I don't get the pressure to have it all figured out from the guests or from the listeners or like anybody that I engage with in the community. The Wanderers don't put pressure on me to have it figured out, because this is a show where I openly admit that I do not have it figured out, that I have no certifications in this. I'm not a best-selling author. I'm not an international guru of any kind, like, Lewis Howes and Jay Shetty and Mel Robbins, Eddie Pinero, all the motivational speakers, Case Kenny, all of these different podcasters, Stephen Bartlett from The Diary of a CEO. I'm not these people. I'm just some girl on the internet trying to figure out what to do with her life. And the pressure to have it all figured out right now, I think, comes from society. So it's like still the internal misogyny, the biological clock type things. Like the pressure to have it all figured out comes from the pressure that I should have been somewhere else at this point in my life. So the fear of falling behind, that's where the pressure, I think, comes from, for you have to have it all figured out right now, because a 34-year-old woman would have had XYZ done by now. And the truth is, I'm on my own timeline for my own life, my own love life, my own financial life, my own family life, my own personal development life. I'm on my own timeline. And so trying to figure everything out all at once right now kind of takes away from the purpose of self-growth. Done it. If I already have it all figured out, all done right now, what else is there to learn? What else is there to participate in or expand myself on? No, I don't get external pressure right now from the community or from guests or from listeners or from immediate people in my life to have it all figured out. I think the pressure that I have to get rid of, or the misconceptions I have to get rid of, are all internally self-imposed limitations. Right? The limitation that I should have been married with kids by now. I should have bought a house again by now. I did have a house in Philly. I did buy a house in Philly, but I should have been able to buy a house again, etc. I should have saved X amount of money first. I should have insert here, whatever self-imposed opinion you have about me as a person, insert that comment here. And the truth is, cool, great. I don't have it, don't need it, don't want it, don't prioritize it yet, whatever the excuse is. But like, I think it's all the internal self-imposed expectations, or the societal internal imposed expectations, that those are the things that make me feel like I need to have it figured out, or like I'm less than, or I'm behind. And the truth is, as I get better at shedding those things, I think I will feel less pressure to have it all figured out. And I hope that you will too, right? Like, it's a lot of times when I catch myself doubting myself, or I catch myself thinking something pressure related, I think I try and flip it and go, okay, why do I feel that way? Where does that come from? Where does that opinion or belief come from? Is it based out of fear, based out of anxiety, based out of my depression? Where does that opinion come from? Because the truth is most likely the exact opposite, or something completely different. So that's usually how I'm handling it right now, mostly. All right, everybody. That is the end of What Would a Wanderer Do? Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I've got to get out of here. I got to go take Jerks on a walk, and then I have to edit for the next couple of hours. So what is it? There ain't no rest for the wicked. That's kind of how I feel right now. So send me some prayers, send me some good vibes. I appreciate all of you for tuning in and sending in questions. Keep sending them in. I will do my best to keep putting out as many of these episodes as I possibly can. I appreciate it so much. And if you're enjoying it, let me know. Leave a comment on YouTube, leave a comment on Spotify, Apple, wherever you enjoy your podcasts. And I appreciate it. It means a lot to me to see you engage and to submit these questions. It's been super helpful and enlightening too, because I feel like we can connect better, and I get to learn more about you based on what you're asking me. And I find that just very insightful. So I appreciate any and all of you that have submitted questions and participate with the show, support the show, sharing the show. It really means the world to me, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. Love you, mean it. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, leave a review, share with your aunties, cousins, uncles, brothers, sisters, mamas, babies. anybody that you think could benefit from listening to me pour my heart and soul out on the internet. If it'll help them feel better, more power to them. So thank you again for being here. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. And I'll catch you next time. Remember, wanderers are always welcome.